Good morning. Welcome back. So most of you probably realized it's, well, I guess it's been 2, possibly 3 weeks since I've uploaded a video. Unfortunately, being as I am a backyard beekeeper, I do have a full-time job as well. I work at a manufacturing facility, and once a year they go through what we call a shutdown. And that's where the whole facility shuts down and we do all of our major maintenance work. So that's pretty much tied me up for the last 2 weeks. So for all of my viewers out there, I do apologize. I did have a few videos made up. Just working the long days and the long hours, I just didn't have time to post it. However, we are approaching the middle of May, and if you are up here in Alberta, you should soon be getting your bee packages. So this video is going to be all about beehive placement and what you should be looking at for putting it. So here we go. Really, it's quite simple. You should be looking for the same things that we would want. So you're going to want food, you're going to want water, and you're going to want shelter. So the bees really require water for a few reasons. One, it helps with their digestion. It helps with the building of wax glands, stimulating the wax glands, especially cooling. So they use a lot of water for cooling inside the hives. So you want them to be somewhere as close to a water source. Now you have to kind of take a look at this, because if you're in the city, or if you're not close to a water source out here in the country, say a dugout, a lake, a river, a stream, you can provide that water source for them. You're going to want to make sure that it's not too deep. You're going to want to make sure that they have something that they can land on or walk around on to get a drink. And you don't want it so that they're going to fall in and drown. So water source we can either provide for them, but it is always best, of course, to use Mother Nature, and preferably a dugout. I have a dugout literally about 150 yards from where I am. I'm quite lucky. The neighbor's got his dugout there, and he has no issues with my bees visiting that from time to time. I also keep horses, so I keep a stock water. And I float a board inside the watering tank, and quite often I'll see bees on that board just taking a drink and going from there, of course, bringing it back to the hives. So you want something that's close by a water source. The next one, of course, is food. So you want somewhere where they're going to be able to find the nectar. Now, bees are incredibly resourceful. And from what I've read and from what I've seen, they'll travel up to a couple miles to find that food source. Of course, the further away the food source is, the more energy they have to expend trying to get that food source back to the hive. And of course, that's kind of a little bit lost production, if you would. So you kind of want them as close to the food source as you can, which is exactly why you see a lot of the commercial beekeepers. They will take and they'll put their hives literally on the side of the field. I'm going to take some pictures here. I'm going to drive around later on this afternoon. I'm going to take some pictures and add at the end of this video, so you can kind of see what some commercial beekeepers do for selection of the fields or locations of their apiaries as well. So if you are in the city, once again, check with your local districts, codes, bylaws, things like that. Most places do allow you to have bees inside the city. You're going to want to have a few things to think of, though. So as the bees come out of the hive, and you can kind of see, we have a couple hives that are waking up here this morning already. But as the bees come out of the hive, they'll basically go from their entrance and they'll take off and they'll fly from there directly back to their food source, water source, or whatever it is that they're going to collect. If you are in the city, a lot of times people will say, put them up on a roof so they start above the flight path. So if you walked in front of these hives during the day, the bees would come out and they'd run right into you. It's not that they're trying to attack you, you just stepped in their flight path. So in the city, if you could get them up so that they're above your head, they'll come out and away they'll go. And if not, you might want to look at putting a fence around them, be it bushes. I've seen some people use snow fence. I've seen some people just have their fence, and they just know that if they go in their backyard, below that fence, you may run into a bee. The idea behind this is as the bees will come out, they'll know that fence is there, they'll automatically fly up, and then they'll go at that 6 feet or higher, and off to their food source they'll go. So that's a few more things that you consider. So let's see, what do we got? We've kind of covered the water source somewhere nearby, their flight path, and of course, now you want a little bit of protection, so shelter. So I have all my hives facing south. I live up here in northern Alberta. So the sun rises pretty much to the west and starts coming around south of me. So I want the sun to warm the hive up as quickly as I can. So you can kind of see the bees they're coming out. They're getting warmed up on the landing board there, and they're getting ready to go. So they see the first daylight. So, hive positioning, I guess there's one that just came in. Hive positioning, you kind of want it so that they get the sun and stuff like this in the morning to warm up as quick as they can. However, you want them to have a little bit of shade in the afternoon when the sun is up at the highest and the hottest. You don't want to cook them. I'd have to look it up again, but I do believe that my beehives will sit right around the 23 to 25 degrees Celsius mark in the middle of the day. I'm standing right in front of the red, I guess the red landing board here. So one of the bees just came out and actually just ran into me. So, so I face my hives to the south if I can, and if not, I try to face them to the west. That way they get the morning sun to warm up, gets them going a little bit quicker, and of course in the wintertime, there's just a little bit more heat there as well. So, now, as you can see, I have trees to the north of me, and I have trees to the west of my apiary. So our prevailing winds here are usually from the west all summer long, and usually from the north in the winter. So the trees that I have to the west and the north of me provide a little bit of a windbreak, so that they, in the winter they don't cool down as much. And of course, you'll see a lot of my videos, it usually gets fairly windy around here. It's a gorgeous morning here this morning. But that protects them from the wind a little bit, helps them kind of get in onto the landing boards without having to fight and battle that wind all the time, things like that too. So those are some of the things that you're going to want to think about when you're placing them. The other thing it does to the west and of me is in the afternoon when the sun's up at its highest, it provides a little bit of shade onto the apiaries, so the hives don't get as hot. So a little bit of wind protection, a little bit of shade protection. If you take a look online, Vino Farms, he's actually built his apiary, and he's actually planted bushes all the way around it, and his bushes are 4, 5, 6 feet high. I don't know exactly, but he's actually provided them a little bit of shade and a little bit of wind protection from all 4 sides. If you can do that, that's great. Once again, part of being a beekeeper is exactly that, helping the bees out every chance that you possibly can. What else have we got? So where do you want them to sit? As you can see, because I use hive heaters, and I'm splitting out, I'm going away from some of those here a little bit this year, just simply because, well, like most backyard beekeepers, I started with 2 hives. Those 2 became 4, those 4 became 6, and well, I just seem to keep growing. Welcome to beekeeping. But so I'm going to start placing some of my hives on some of my friends' property, just gather them up a little bit quicker in the fall, but I'm going to bring them all back here to the apiary here so that the hive heaters can kind of help them out like I did last year. If you follow along, you'll see some of my videos where I brought some of my buddies' hives and I stacked them kind of in between the hive heaters and then boxed them all in. It worked really well. His bees didn't survive, but it had nothing to do with the cold, the moisture, anything like that. His bees didn't survive simply because of mite control. So once again, that's kind of part and parcel of being the beekeeper, helping them out anywhere you can. I'm going to step forward a little bit because this resource hive here is coming alive, and they keep coming out and they keep flying on my, hitting me on my pant leg. But so let's see, what have we covered? We've covered some water. We've covered some food for them. We've kind of went through some of the shelter. And I guess where I was going is I put all mine on some cement foundations or some cement blocks. So what this does for me is this just provides a nice level surface. You don't have to. The ones over on my friend's property, stuff like that, I won't be doing that. I will be bringing them up off the ground 4 to 6 inches. So that's does a couple things for me. The bottom board won't rot out. I'm just going to probably put them on some cinder blocks, but I will get them up a little bit. The other thing I might look at doing is I do have a few pallets, and I know that's what a lot of the commercial beekeepers will do, is they'll put them up on a pallet. So I'll keep you informed as to what happens there. And then, yeah, hopefully we will get these things. You pick out a location, and we will have a location, because I know I've got, what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4 nukes here that I've sold. Actually, all in the resource hives right now. They're coming along really, really well. So I have 4 nukes that I'll be delivering here probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if you're following along and they're one of the nukes, you'll probably be able to see how I built those, as I do have a couple splits that I'm going to be doing this afternoon. Unfortunately, during my the last few weeks, beekeeping didn't stop. So I have successfully made some queens. I have some videos that I'll post up there. But those new queens are going to be going with these 4 new nukes. So I ended up with a few extra queens, but there was a couple queens that I'm not 100% sure they're my best stock, and I'm not going to sell those ones. They'll probably go into the resource hives until they can prove themselves. But I only want to make sure that anything that I'm selling is the very, very best that I can produce. So I have some extremely calm bees. They produce lots of honey. They're resilient. So those are the stocks that I'm using, and those are the stocks that I will be using for my nukes. But yeah, that's kind of some of the things. Once again, I'm going to go drive around. I'm going to take some pictures here now. I'm going to add them to these videos, and I'll add a little bit of commentary there as well of some of the locations that some of the commercial beekeepers have selected. But hopefully you got your hive all built. The stand and everything like that's ready, because the nukes will be coming soon, and we want to make sure that you know where they're going, the best possible spot, and that yeah, your hive is ready for your bees to arrive. I'm going to continue with my coffee. Oh, my new coffee cups came in. They turned out really well. But, and of course, coffees with a little bit of Bailey's in the morning, hard to beat on a gorgeous day in front of the beehives. I'll bring you up front here so you can see them kind of warming up. They're getting ready for the day. So here's a commercial beekeeper setup. It's got protection from the winds from the west. It's set up right beside the farmers' fields, both to the north and to the south. And of course, right inside that tree line, there is a little dugout there, so the bees have access to the water. So just one example of. Here you can see he's got an electric fence around there. That's to, well, keep the bears and stuff like that out of there. So. All right, so here's another example. This is surrounded by trees to the north, east, and west, but it's open to the south. And of course, he's got a feed barrel there. So right nearby a creek. So the creek runs just off to the other side. But once again, just another example of how they set them up. So that gives you a couple ideas of what to look for when you're trying to figure out where to place your hives. The biggest thing is don't be afraid to try anywhere. So if you can't meet any of those up above, it might just mean that you know what, maybe you're going to have to do a little extra beekeeping, but that's what it's all about. So those are kind of the ideal spots. So try to make sure that they have some source of water nearby. I did forget to mention, if you do live in the city and your neighbor has a pool, you might want to make sure they have a closer source of water than your neighbor's pool. They might not appreciate that very much. But try to make sure they have some kind of a source of water. They will find the nectar. Like I said, they are incredibly resourceful. They will find the flowers, they will find the nectar. And of course, if you can provide them shelter, great. If not, once again, they will just make sure the hive stays the temperature that it needs to be. So don't be afraid to try whatever it is that you have and whatever you have that is available. If you can hit one of those check boxes, great. If you can hit all three of them, great. If you can't hit any of them, great. Don't be afraid to give it a try. So our bees hopefully will be arriving. In fact, I'm going next weekend to pick up some of the nukes. I will have a video of how we put the nuke into the hive. But if you have a selection or a place picked out, don't be afraid to go set your hive up there. Take the time to practice, putting the hive together, taking it apart so you know where it's all at. Make sure you have your frames. Make sure you have all the parts and pieces. That way, when your bees arrive here the next week or two, you are 100% ready. So until then, as always, don't be afraid to give me a thumbs up if you like these videos. Always hit the subscribe button so you can follow along. And then if you ring the bell over here, you'll get noticed or notified when I upload another one. So till next time, happy beekeeping. Take care. How you doing, girls?